we're in Google simulation, and in Google simulation, Amazon bought ad space in Google simulation to put their own simulation in that simulation. So we're in the Google simulation, and we're getting ready to line up to pay money, only $50 a month, to stream Amazon's simulation within this simulation.
It doesn't even end there. It doesn't even end there, John.
Microsoft simulation inside of the Amazon simulation, and then inside of Microsoft simulation, inside of Amazon simulation, inside of Google simulation is Nintendo Labo VR Kit 4, and then that's the deepest it goes.
I'm afraid Microsoft's already dead, and with it, all of us are already technically dead too. But luckily, you viewers aren't, because there's something even bigger than Amazon or Google. It's because the return of this company, you may have heard of them before. It's Atari. The company, you may have heard of them from the 70s. They weren't very big then, but you probably know them from the Atari Jaguar. That one system that toppled the super duper Nintendo Entertainment System. And they are returning with their own new system, which is so ingenious it just won't get released at all. You probably already know what's going to happen, so they're just not even going to bother releasing it. And I just think that's a genius move by them.
That's really good marketing. The fact that they have so much money that they can afford to withstand the product at all. Like, they don't even need a physical product or a source of income. They can just have the concept on the internet, and that's enough for us to enjoy.
Well, who's buying a PlayStation 6 when we already know a PlayStation 8 is on the horizon?
I mean, I've already got my PlayStation 10 pre-ordered. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is just terrible marketing. Like, why buy the PS9 now when I know that 40 years from now there's going to be a PlayStation 16? Like, what are they thinking?
I don't know. All I know is that I'm very by that time, not yet though, because it's not out yet, but by that time I'm going to feel very nostalgic for the PlayStation 7 days. I just think that'll be the highlight of gaming in general, where State of Play Part 700 is out, and it's finally no longer a disappointing piece of shit, and they actually managed to announce good games. But the twist is that they're all still VR games, and that's the only thing that exists at that time. So we have no other choice but to accept fucking Ant-Man VR is going to be good.
Speaking of pre-orders, GameStop, they closed about 8 years ago, but rumor has it that we are going to get a sequel to GameStop, GameStop 2, the movie. Your thoughts?
Yeah, of course. GameStop is not the blockbuster of video games by any means. They're a multi-billion-dollar company and will be around for a long time. Although I'm eating my words right now because I'm watching them condemn the GameStop next to my house, and it looks as if it's been closed for several years. However, they just put up a sign just now that says GameStop 2, the movie, coming soon, and I'm wondering, will this be a immersive cinematic experience?
I gotta imagine so. Yeah, they've already released trailers for such an experience, and I say there has been a lot of complaining that it just looks the same as the first GameStop. You see, it's very early in production right now. I think once they kind of come out with a redesign, and a lot of people didn't like the design of the main character, but once they put a little more production money in, I think this is going to be a high quality product that will maybe stick around for another 5 years, just long enough that they can get out of GameStop 3 before the market runs out.
GameStop 2, the movie. I hear Uwe Ball is directing this one, director of the Blood Rain and In the Name of the King movies. He's directing this new GameStop movie, and I agree with what some of the complaints people are coming out with. I think the plot looks very interesting in my opinion, but the CGI is not very good.
I can't stand they just didn't get the font of the GameStop right, true to the original, and I think that's
like the Smashburger logo than the GameStop
right.
Logo. It's lowercase. I don't know what the fuck that's all about, but I really think that that sentimental feel is definitely gone with GameStop the series now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the moment they lost their old CEO. some fans weren't super happy with him lately, but I think they just were too focused on the past and not what they had, and now they're really regretting
Yeah, ever
what's happened.
since Reggie Fils-Aime GameStop announced his retirement and Doug Bowsett took the throne, I'm really not sure where things are going now. But of course, I will be in only a few seconds because this is the gaming news of the future, baby.
But given that GameStop 2, the movie has now been canceled, I
Oh
think by
fuck,
the
it was
time
canceled.
it was canceled now. Just breaking news.
Well, shit. I
Think,
guess I have to go. That means I have to now settle for EB Games Part 3, the Awakening, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
like the Asylum equivalent of the GameStop trilogy. So I'm just
Pretty much.
yeah, it's like the DC cinematic universe of video game cinematic stores. Mother 5 coming soon for the Atari Dreamcast is has been anticipated since about the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and I think a trailer for it just dropped. Ben, can you dive into your Google simulation, watch this trailer without having to just in a blink of an eye, and then give me your thoughts?
Well, okay, I've seen it. I think that they're taking a lot of risks with this. This is just something nice and refreshing to see. A Sonic team has had a history of just recycling all the bad things and not bringing back all the good things. So for once, it seems like they're actually bringing back the good things with this new movie slash game.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit experimental. It reminds me of Kingdom Hearts 7.
Oh yeah,
Having Hank Hill as the main character was a bold choice in that game, but with Mother 5, where they finally have the g- gay North Korean furry representation the fan base has been begging for.
oh that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
inclusiveness, and you play
Yeah, did
as-
you notice that? You notice in one frame of the background, you can actually see Barney the dinosaur in the game, which I think if he's a playable character, this is a game changer for the Mother 3 Dynasty.
Fuck, I didn't notice that. To be able to play as Barney the dinosaur and take your helmet off in the middle of the show and terrify children across the world, I think would be a very interesting scene in this game. But I have,
Oh,
to,
yeah.
I have to wait until I get my hands on it to see if you can actually take the helmet off in the game and turn it into a VR experience where you become Barney and breathe fire all over the town like Godzilla, but Barney.
Yeah. So a bold choice to. It seems they're finally leaving the outdated RPG format and going into the flight simulator format, which it's about time. It's been they've been behind the curve there.
That's just the natural evolution. Whenever I play
Right.
a like in one of those old school turn-based RPGs like Digi Bro or Pokey Fantasy 7 on the Atari Jaguar CD. I play those games and I see that turn-based combat and I think turn-based more like air-based. Why can't this take place with planes? It's just the natural evolution. It's the same genre. I don't see the big deal. Why all these old games haven't been remade into flight simulators just yet? It's ridiculous. But I'm really digging this Mother 5 trailer.
Oh yeah, I've already watched it 5,000 times at this point. I don't think there's anything I haven't noticed yet, and yet there's just so many things to talk about that they dropped. I think it's a big thing to note that they actually killed off Lucas during the trailer, which is something I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of back off from that, but I think it's going to draw a lot of attention to this game and really boost the sales come release date in
when
3040.
The poster. Well, that's not too far off, but
Yeah.
the poster for Mother 4 is of Sans from Mother 3.5. holding holding Lucas's fucking decapitated head with the blood spilling out.
Yeah.
And it says, Mother 4, you're going to have a bad time.
Oh yeah. I would hate to see them pull back the death though. If they stick to the death that they haven't even animated yet, then that would just be.
Well,
I would have to applaud them for a bold move like that.
If you zoom in on this poster of Sans holding up Lucas's dead fucking head, you can see a ghost of Lucas's mother in the background welcoming Lucas into the afterlife. And people are saying that there's going to be a segment in the game where you play as Lucas in the afterlife trying to avenge you and your mother. And that's the final boss.
Yeah.
I think that'll be a very interesting take on this series.
Oh, yeah. Of course, you also have to remember that they brought in the new crossover with Big the Cat. I think that this is going to be a great way to show his co-op abilities. You know how in the game PlayStation All-Stars, how Isabelle uses the fishing rod. Well, Big the Cat's rod is even bigger, and I think that and just seeing how that interacts with Ness's gameplay should be really interesting to see.
Well, fishing for Ness is or Lucas, whatever you said, is very tricky because you can only hook him by the asshole. And that's the only way to catch him. And like you have to like first remove the swim trunks. It's very controversial, but they have aged Lucas / Ness to be
rumor has it
over 18 in this game, so it should be fine.
Actually, what I'm hearing from my inside sources, this is actually going to be the first game for Sega to release that actually gets the early childhood rating, which I think that's a pretty bold move for Sega to expand its range for that younger demographic.
The first 30 hours of the game are just them teaching the audience their ABCs. It really picks up after that, trust me.
Oh yeah.
And that's all the ESRB could stand. So they just gave the game they said fuck it and gave it the early childhood setting. And that's how we ended up to where we are now. Anubis 2 is actually Anubis 1. Okay. That's the only example I can think of that happening, but this actually is like a prequel to Fallout 78, and it takes place between Bethesda having respect for their customers and Bethesda lighting bags of dog shit on their front porch. And this will be an interesting in-between where you play as Tom Howard himself, going door to door with a lighter and bags of dog shit, and a sign that they leave in the mailbox that says no refunds. The Tom Howard DLC for Fallout 77, the graphics, I gotta say, look incredibly realistic. I don't know how they handled this, since Bethesda has been using the same game engine since 2006, but here they are in the current year of 3019, and we have to signal this all the way back in time to 2019. It's going to take forever to render, by the way, but it doesn't matter because we have time travel. But it looks as if the game footage on this, where he's leaving the bags of shit on the front porches, it looks as if it was actually filmed with a phone camera. I don't know how they managed to achieve that in this game's graphics, but they somehow did it, and it looks incredible. I can't wait to play it. For extra realism, if you bring a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey to a gas station, they don't mark down the gas prices for you. They bring out an officially Ubisoft branded camel that they just burned the Ubisoft logo into the hump of, and it looks very unfed and starved to death, but it is an official Ubisoft camel, which means it's high quality, and
that's good.
You can ride the rest of the highway on this camel.
You had to wait for the post-credit scene. It's when they announced that Bubsy 3D would be in this game. I think that is
like Bubsy's
really?
3D model from the Bubsy 3D game.
No, just Bubsy 3D.
The game,
The game.
the jewel case driving a car. Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of a shocking choice, but I mean, it's such a classic game. Everyone remembers it from their childhood, especially with the microtransactions where you can pay to you have to pay $1 a month to ensure that Bubsy doesn't spout catchphrases throughout the entire game. And the odd thing is that he would still shout catchphrases even if you weren't playing as him. But I think for $1 a month, it's a good deal.
I also saw that now you can get DLC to not only add characters but remove characters. You can pay for the game in game to violently murder racers that you don't like permanently. It's a really revolutionary move. Like usually you have like all these 1-ups and game overs and stuff. You just revive. Now you can just permanently kill people you don't like.
That's a good idea because when I'm playing a game like Mario Party, for example, I wish like I see someone like Daisy and I think, fuck, if only I could remove this character permanently from the Mario franchise. I would gladly pay $50+ for DLC that turns the game briefly into Mortal Kombat, and you can just tear, even in like the E-rated Mario art style, you just watch Luigi pick up Daisy by the chin and rip her spine out, and then you go back and you can never play as Daisy again, even if you put in your classic previous Mario Party entries into your fully backwards compatible modern Nintendo system that plays every Nintendo game ever made.
And rumor has it, if you can actually buy amiibos of these dead characters, and if you connect them to other people's systems, it'll kill them on that system too. And so basically, you can just commit mass genocide in the real world, which is just a brilliant move by Nintendo. It's not just Daisy either. Like there's Bowser, and you can actually kill the CEO of Nintendo America now, which is
by using the Bowser amiibo.
That was a just. It's really forward thinking by Nintendo consider to let the people kill their Nintendo of America CEO. Like
how is that man still alive at this point?
It's important to consider that states were gone away with 26 years ago, and some states still think they're states is just completely ridiculous.
It's a very old fashioned thing. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. To believe
it's important to bring up. But I think that we only have 26 states, and 25 of those are still holding on to the belief that they are in fact individual states is ridiculous.
I agree.
I think that nuclear war is a reasonable response.
I mean, only 90s kids will remember Nebraska. What the fuck is Nebraska? And remember when there was South and North California? What the fuck is it?
Not too many people realize this, but at one time there's actually a southern hemisphere too.
And to think that at one point people considered back when there was no proof of a celestial being, a god that created all things. Now we've proven it. I mean it's been proven for centuries now that there is indeed a god, and we speak to him frequently, and we've had him on the podcast before.
Of course. And then no one else was able to get him but us. I think that just really speaks to our level of intelligence and superior knowledge.
Well, my secretary, you may know him as Joe Rogan, very, underground. He has his own show, but nowhere near as popular as Lunar Wisdom Gaming News bullshit. No, I'm just saying, like, he's like, hey, Jonathan, I said don't ever speak to me. And he said, I'm sorry, but you do want God himself on your podcast, right? And I'm like, well, is the sky blue, retard? Get me God on my podcast. And thus, God was on the podcast the same day that Master Chief was announced for PlayStation All-Stars 5. How do you feel towards that?
I think that was just... It had to be God at work doing that. Like, that he agreed to join us and at the same time releasing PlayStation All-Stars. I think it was pretty clear he wanted to talk about that.
Saturn's moon Titan to swim in the ethane lakes. I saw kids playing on it there. and I just brought a tear to my eye. It might have been Titan's atmosphere, but just to know that kids are out there enjoying such good video games.